If you work night security long enough, you learn that every building has a personality. Some are loud, some creak and complain like they're alive. Others are so quiet they make you uneasy, like they're holding their breath. This one was quiet in the wrong way. It used to be a municipal records building on the outskirts of a small Midwestern town. 3 floors, concrete. No windows on the ground level. Closed down after a fire 15 years ago and never reopened. The city didn't demolish it. They just left it. Too expensive to tear down. Too boring to care about. Until someone decided it needed a guard. That someone wasn't my supervisor. He didn't know why the post existed, neither did HR. The contract was weirdly generous for a night shift. 12 hours, 4 nights a week. No public access, no patrol outside. Just one building and one rule. They gave it to me on my first night, printed on a single sheet of paper, slid across the desk like it was nothing. Rule number 1, do not attempt to open door 14. That was it. No explanation, no consequences listed, no bold red warnings, just that one sentence. I laughed, because what else do you do when a job starts with something that stupid? What's door 14, I asked. The woman behind the desk didn't smile. She didn't even look at me. You'll know it when you see it. That should have been my first warning. The building's layout was simple, long hallways, old fluorescent lights, rooms labeled with metal plaques that had survived the YIE, fire better than the walls. Door 1 through 9 were on the first floor. Storage, old offices, a break room that still smelled faintly like burned coffee. Door 10 through 18 were on the second floor. Door 19 through 27 on the third. At least, that's what the floor map said. The map was mounted near the stairs, yellowed and warped from heat. According to it, door 14 was a records archive room. No special markings, no asterisks, just another door. I reached the second floor around 9:40 p.m., flashlight in hand, boots echoing softly. The building hummed faintly, like distant electricity still flowing somewhere it shouldn't. Door 11, door 12, door 13. Then, door 14. It was different. Not broken, not damaged, just wrong. Every other door on that floor was painted the same dull, institutional gray. Door 14 was bare metal, no handle, no keyhole, no hinges visible from the outside. Just a smooth slab of steel set into the wall. And the plaque above it didn't say 14. It said nothing. No number, no name, no scratches where a sign had been removed. Just clean wall. I stood there longer than I meant to, flashlight beam sliding over the surface. The light didn't reflect properly. It seemed to die on the metal instead of bouncing back. That's when I noticed something else. The floor in front of door 14 was worn, not from traffic, from standing, footprints, old scuffs, slight depressions in the concrete, like people had stopped there often and stayed. I stepped back without realizing it. The rule came back to me, suddenly heavier than a piece of paper had any right to be. Do not attempt to open door 14. I hadn't planned to. I moved on, finished my patrol, logged the halls, sat in the security office downstairs and watched the cameras until morning. Nothing happened. Not that night. The second night I noticed the camera feed glitch when it passed the second floor, just for half a second, static, then normal. The third night, it happened again. Always when the feed cycled past the camera pointed at the hallway with door 14. I told myself it was old wiring, old building. Nothing spooky, just neglected infrastructure and my imagination filling in gaps. Then, around 2:17 a.m., I heard the sound. A knock. Soft, slow, coming from upstairs. I froze, listening. Another knock. 3 taps, evenly spaced, coming from the second floor, from the direction of door 14. I checked the monitor. The hallway camera showed nothing. No movement, no shadow. Just the door. Still. Waiting. And then very clearly through the concrete and steel and silence of the building, I heard a voice. Low, calm, using my name, not shouting, not whispering, just speaking. "Hey," it said, "can you help me for a second?" I didn't move. The radio on my belt crackled with static, and from the other side of the monitor, door 14 did something it hadn't done before. It moved, not opening, just enough to breathe. I didn't answer the voice. That wasn't courage. That was instinct, something deep. In my body shutting everything down at once, like a breaker flipping before a fire spreads. I sat there in the security office, staring at the monitor, counting my breaths. 1, 2, 3. The hallway camera showed door 14 exactly as it had been before. Closed, solid, silent, no gap, no movement, no person standing outside it. And yet, I knew what I had heard. The building settled around me with a faint groan, like it was stretching its bones. Somewhere in the walls, something clicked. Pipes, maybe, or old wiring shifting. The radio crackled again. I picked it up before I could talk myself out of it. "Security to, anyone on site?" My voice sounded too loud in the small room. "Identify yourself." Nothing. Then, faintly from the radio speaker itself. "Wrong channel." I dropped it. The radio hit the desk and slid, still hissing softly. My name came through again, distorted this time, layered over itself like a bad recording. "Hey, you're allowed to talk to me." I unplugged the radio. The voice stopped instantly. That was when I realized something I didn't like at all. It wasn't coming from the hallway. It was using whatever it could reach. I didn't go back upstairs that night. At 6:01 a.m., the day shift arrived. I signed out, handed over the keys, and left without mentioning door 14 or the voice. I told myself I'd imagined it. That lie lasted exactly 12 hours. On the fourth night, there was a new note taped to the inside of the security office door. Same paper. Same printer. One sentence. Rule number 2. Do not respond if door 14 speaks. That's when fear stopped being abstract. They knew. Not only that, I had broken the rules just by listening. I stood there staring at the paper, feeling a slow pressure behind my eyes, like the start of a headache that had teeth. "How does it know my name?" I muttered to the empty room. The lights flickered in response. I hadn't asked anyone. I forced myself to do the patrol. Skipping it felt worse, like ignoring a problem that would grow teeth if left alone. The second floor was colder now. Not the air. My breath didn't fog. But the walls. The handrail bit into my palm like it had been left outside in winter. Door 14 looked exactly the same, but the floor in front of it had changed. There were fresh marks, not footprints. Handprints, smeared low, as if someone had been kneeling, dragging their fingers across the concrete. I backed away, heart hammering, and that's when the voice came again. Not from behind the door, from behind me. "Careful," it said gently. "They don't like it when you get confused." I spun around. Empty hallway, lights buzzing overhead. No place for someone to stand without being seen. "I'm not talking to you," I said, louder than I meant to. The metal of door 14 rippled, not visibly, not in a way a camera would catch, but I felt it, like a pressure change, like something heavy shifting its weight on the other side. "I know," the voice replied. "You're doing great." I ran. Back in the security office. I locked the door, sat with my back against it, and tried to think logically. Old building, stress, long hours. Hallucinations happen, so do pranks. But no prank explains why, when I pulled up the archived security footage from last year. There was no camera listed for the second floor hallway. None. The system skipped from camera 6 to camera 8. Camera 7, door 14's hallway, didn't exist. Yet it was live, streaming, watching, and someone had labeled it. Not in the system, on dies, the feed itself. White text burned faintly into the image like a watermark. Door 14. Occupied. I didn't finish my shift. I didn't call it in either. I just left. And as I stepped outside into the cold morning air, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text message. No number, no contact. Just 4 words. You weren't supposed to leave. I didn't go back for 2 days. I told myself I was sick. Then I told my supervisor the same thing. He didn't argue. That should have worried me more than it did. On the 3rd day, I woke up to the smell of disinfectant. Not memory, actual smell. Sharp, clinical. I was in my apartment, but my bedroom light was on, humming softly like a fluorescent bulb. I don't own fluorescent bulbs. My phone was on the nightstand, unlocked. On the screen was a single notification from the building's internal system, the one only employees can access. Missed check-in, door 14. Time stamped 2:17 a.m. I hadn't been there. I threw the phone across the room. The humming stopped. The smell faded, but the message stayed. By the end of the week, things started going wrong in small, precise ways. My key fob stopped opening my apartment's main door, but worked perfectly on the building's employee entrance when I tested it out of curiosity. Elevators paused too long on empty floors. Lights flickered only when I stood still. And every night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., my phone vibrated once. No message, just a vibration. Like a reminder. I finally checked my email. There was one from HR marked urgent. We noticed repeated failure to complete required overnight checks. Please report for your scheduled shift tonight. Non-compliance will be documented. No mention of door 14. No explanation. Just expectation. Like the building assumed I'd come back. Because of course I would. I arrived early. I don't know why. Maybe I thought getting ahead of it would help. Maybe I hoped the place would look normal in daylight. It didn't. The lobby was quieter than I remembered. Not empty, just muted, like sound didn't travel as far anymore. Conversations died mid-sentence. Footsteps didn't echo. The security office door was already unlocked. Inside, the monitor was on. Camera 7 filled the screen. Door 14's hallway. Waiting. There was something new taped to the desk. Another printed page. Rule number 3. If door 14 is open, do not close it. My stomach dropped, because I already knew what I was about to see. I zoomed the camera. Door 14 wasn't closed. It wasn't fully open either. It stood ajar. By a few inches, just enough to reveal darkness behind it. Not shadow, depth. Like the hallway ended there and fell away into something deeper. The hallway lights flickered, trying to decide whether the space beyond deserved illumination. It didn't. The radio crackled. I didn't touch it. Late, the voice said. Not accusing. Disappointed. I didn't agree to this, I said to the empty room. You did when you stayed, it replied. You did when you learned the rules. The camera zoomed in on its own. Inside the gap, something shifted. Not a body. Not yet. Just movement. Slow, careful, like whatever was in there was learning how far it could reach. You can quit, the voice continued, but the building still needs someone. My reflection appeared faintly on the monitor, but it was wrong. It smiled a second before I did. I stood up. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but my feet carried me toward the door. The hallway outside felt narrower than before. The walls leaned in slightly, like ribs. Each step toward door 14 made the air thicker, heavier, alive. When I reached it, the voice spoke again, no longer from behind me, no longer from the radio, from everywhere. You don't lock a heart, it said softly. You guard it. Something inside door 14 inhaled, and the building inhaled with it. Lights dimmed. Somewhere far below us, metal screamed. I understood then. Door 14 wasn't a room, it was an organ, and I was standing exactly where it could feel me. I didn't open it. That's The part people always ask about later. No, I didn't touch door 14. Not yet. Because the building did something worse. It showed me who came before. The lights snapped back on all at once, too bright, too white. The hallway looked normal again. Clean floors, beige walls, emergency exit signs humming quietly. Door 14 was closed. Perfectly. As if it had never breathed at all. My radio crackled again, but this time it wasn't the same voice. This one was tired. Older. You shouldn't be here alone. I recognized it instantly. Mark. The night supervisor who transferred last year. The one no one talked about anymore. You quit, I said. They said you moved. A pause. Then a dry, humorless laugh. I did quit, he replied. I just didn't leave. The security monitor flickered on behind me. No one was touching it. The screen split into two feeds. On the left, the hallway where I stood now. On the right, the same hallway, but older. Dirtier, different signs, different year. The timestamp read 2018, and standing in front of door 14 was Mark. Younger, healthier, terrified. I thought it was just stress, his voice continued. Long shifts, old building, bad wiring. On screen, his past self rubbed his eyes, checked a clipboard, yawned. I ignored the first rule, he said. I closed the door. The footage glitched, jumped. Door 14 was suddenly open. Wide. Too wide. Darkness spilled into the hallway like ink. Something inside it moved, not forward but sideways, as if testing the edges of the world. I didn't see it, Mark said quietly, but it saw me. The hallway lights in the footage flickered in the same 3-pulse pattern I'd seen before. 3 short, 1 long, 2 short. A rhythm, a heartbeat. The footage jumped again. Mark was older now, thinner, sleeping in the security office chair. Sticky notes covered the walls, rules, schedules, red ink. Once it knows you, his voice said, it doesn't chase you. On screen, his eyes snapped open. Door 14 was visible behind him on the monitor. Closed. But it waits. I stepped back from the screen. So why me? I asked. Because I failed, he answered immediately. And because the building doesn't forgive abandonment. The footage showed Mark packing a box, badge, keys, personal photos. He stood in front of door 14 one last time, didn't look at it, just left. The screen went black. You're not supposed to leave it unattended, his voice said. It starts opening doors on its own. As if on cue, somewhere down the hallway. Click. A door unlocked, then another, a chain reaction, like something testing which boundaries still worked. I held it for 6 years, Mark continued. Kept it fed, kept it quiet. Fed? I whispered. Silence. Then softly. Attention. Presence. Someone to notice when it breathes. The lights dimmed again. Door 14 creaked. Not opening, just loosening. You don't have to die for it, Mark said. That's the lie it tells everyone. The camera feed flickered back to the present. The hallway, me, door 14. And now, new marks on the floor, handprints, not leading out, leading toward the door, pressed deep like something had dragged itself back inside. If you stay, Mark said, you get to leave sometimes. The radio crackled, struggling to stay on. If you don't, static, it comes looking. A shadow passed beneath the door. Slow, careful, learning. I'm sorry, he finished. I really am. The radio went dead, and door 14 exhaled again, long, satisfied, like it knew the shift. Change was complete. I stood there longer than I should have, listening, waiting for the building to decide what I was going to be. Because by then, I understood the truth Mark never said out loud. Door 14 doesn't trap people. It replaces them. The hallway clock clicked over to 3:17 a.m. The same time stamped on every corrupted file. The same minute circled in red on the clipboard I hadn't noticed I was holding. I didn't remember picking it up, but my name was already written on it. Shift. Ongoing. I stepped closer to the door. Not because I wanted to, because every other option had quietly disappeared. Behind me, the exit sign flickered and went dark. The elevator button did nothing. My phone showed no service, then briefly flashed a date that wasn't today. It was 5 years from now. Then it shut off. The building had closed around me. Door 14 wasn't fully shut anymore. There was a thin gap now. Barely enough to see through. Barely enough to hear. But I could feel it watching. Not with eyes, with attention. Like the moment before someone says your name. I leaned in. The darkness inside wasn't empty. It was layered. Hallways folded into hallways. Doors behind doors. I saw shapes that looked like people, until they moved wrong. Too smoothly, too patiently, and deeper in, standing where the light could never reach. I saw myself, older, thinner, eyes hollowed by routine, wearing my badge, holding the same clipboard, looking back at me with an expression that wasn't fear, it was relief. "You can still walk away," my future self said. Their mouth didn't move. The sound came from the walls. But then it opens more doors. The gap widened a fraction. Something inside shifted closer. Heavy. Interested. I understood then what feeding meant. The building didn't want blood. It wanted continuity. Someone to stay. Someone to notice. Someone to be here when no one else was. I reached up and peeled the badge from my chest. It felt wrong. Like pulling off skin that had already healed. The door reacted instantly. The gap shuddered. The lights screamed. For the first time, I felt panic from the thing inside. It didn't want to hunt again. Didn't want to teach someone new. I dropped the badge on the floor, stepped back, and said the only thing I could think of. I quit. The building went silent. Not angry. Not loud. Disappointed. Door 14 snapped shut so hard the frame cracked. The hallway lights surged back on. Emergency exits glowed. My phone vibrated to life. 3:18 a.m. Today's date. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't wait for permission. I just ran until the outside air burned my lungs. I never returned. The company said the building was decommissioned months later. Electrical issues, structural concerns. Unsafe for overnight staffing. Door numbers removed, walled off, sold. But sometimes, very late at night, I still wake up at 3:17 a.m., and I know, without checking, that somewhere, a door is being watched, and someone is standing in front of it, learning the rules, waiting for their shift to end. They say abandoned buildings are quiet. They're wrong. They're just between guards. And if you ever work the night shift somewhere with doors that skip numbers, pay attention, count them. And if you find one that breathes, don't ask what's inside. Ask who it's waiting for. Because the shift never ends. Until the next story.